Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Carl, and this will be video 4.4. In this video, we will be making a pop-up system for our game, just to let the user know that the user have won. I mean, having a nice console message display that is nice, but the user within the game will not be able to see it. So it's always nice to communicate things with the player. First thing that we will do is we will go into game manager, which is in my scripts folder, and we will create a new delegate for this. Remember when we made the on move event handler, we made a new delegate for this. So what we will do is we're going to create a new delegate. Okay, so all I did here is public delegate void on pop-up message show. And we should probably add event handler over there, because it is not the actual event, it's the event handler, it's the delegate. And for our parameters, we have the object, which is the source, and then a string message. So now we can implement the event on pop-up message show. This might seem like a lot of type work, and it really is, but it's necessary to have descriptive variables, descriptive names in your code. It's one of those things of do as I say and not as I do, because I usually just call things X, Y, and Z. So now we need a place to call this. So what I will do is under cell moved, if we win before we reset the game, over here, we need to say, we need to tell the user that the user has won. And we do that by calling an event like any other, well, event. And its parameters will be this, comma, and then we will just say you have won. There are much more, how do I say, less code intensive ways of doing this. I just really like having a custom system built into these things, so I can expand upon them later. So I like to think of things like this as doing a lot of code beforehand, and then whenever I expand on something, I just reuse everything I have currently created. So up next, we need to subscribe to this event. So under UI Manager, which is in my scripts folder, we need to subscribe to this event. So we can do that on awake. And now we have this. And for now, all that we are going to do is we are going to debug.log the message sent. So all we need to do for now is just to see if that works. So go into Unity, press play, and in the console we should see you have won whenever we actually win. And there it is. I'll just remove this pesky debug.log to make everything a little bit easier to debug. Okay, so up next what we need to do is we need to create a UI object to display the pop-up. So we will do that within our canvas. I'm just gonna, within our main panel, no, within our canvas, because we want it to appear in the middle of the screen right about here. So what I will do is I will create another panel. Yippee, I know, we love panels. And I'm just going to rename it to pop-up. Now on this, I want a few things to happen. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to scale it down a lot, and I'm also going to anchor it to the top middle. I'm also going to set the pivots and the position to the top middle. This also allows me to, oh no, what did I do? To scale the width and height relative to that position. So I'm just going to put it right about there. Maybe just make it a whole number. And then, ooh, height right about there. Yeah, that looks nice. Just make it 250. And then maybe, yes, and then maybe replace the default background image with our wonderful panel that we made in a previous video. So all we need now is we need to add a text component. And all I'm going to put here is test popup. I'm just going to make it a little bit bigger. Now, if I go into scene view and just press F to focus, I need these borders to be right at the borders of the pop-up message. So I'm gonna what I'm gonna do with text selected, I'm gonna bump up width to right about 730, and the height just a little bit more, right about by 200. And what I am going to do also is I'm going to set the alignment to center and center. That'll allow the message, no matter how big the message or how small, to always appear in the middle of the pop-up. One thing I'm also going to do is I'm going to set the X. I'm not going to tamper with, I want the Y just a little bit below that, right about there, just minus 25. Now we go into pop-up. Now we're going to add another script. Add component. And I'm just going to call this script pop-up. Okay, and with that selected, just double click on pop-up, create a region for variables. And then we're going to, because I use TextMesh Pro, I'm going to say using TM Pro. And under variables, I'm going to create a public TextMesh Pro UGUI. I'm just going to call it underscore text. And that is all we need to do, I think. I'm not even sure we need this at the moment. So all I'm going to do is back into Unity. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this pop-up down into my project folder to make it a prefab. And you will see why I'm going to do that in a moment. So under pop-up, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag the TextMesh Pro into the field we created. And now I remember why we need that. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to create a public void method called setMessage, and all this is going to do is it's going to take a message and it's going to set the TextMesh Pro component as that message, and you will see later on why we need to do that. So with that done, Control S to save. I'm going to disable this pop-up in our scene. And now in our UI manager, we need a field for this pop-up. So in UI manager, what I'm going to do is under variables, we have GUI. I'm just going to create another header. And under that header, I'm going to create a public game object pop-up prefab. And once we go into Unity, this prefab we created, just drag it in there. And now we're going to start doing some cool stuff. So under UI Manager, whenever we have a pop-up, we are going to create one of these prefabs on our screen. So on pop-up message showed, we're going to remove the debug.log. We are going to say variable, I'm just going to call this pop equals to instantiate with parentheses. And in this, we are going to just place in our pop-up prefab. And after this, we can say pop.getComponent. And in this, we can say popup dot, and we do not have access to set message, but it is public. Oh, we need parentheses, then a dot. Set message, and within there we are going to say underscore message. I have no idea if this is going to work. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say destroy. I want to destroy the pop-up message, and I want to do it after, let's say, 5 seconds. What I'm going to do is under here, I'm going to say public float pop-up delete time, and this is the amount of time that it's going to take to delete a pop-up. So I'm just going to replace that with the 5 we put in there, and this should work fine if I am correct. So pop-up delete time, I'm just going to say 5, and then if we play and win, we should have a pop-up. Okay, so now under canvas we have, over here we have pop-up. In our scene, where is it? And it is not where it is supposed to be at all. Okay, so one of the things we need to do is we need to set the parent to our canvas. So in our UI manager, over here, we're gonna say canvas, and right here where we instantiate our pop-up prefab, we can set the transform of the parent. So we're just gonna say canvas dot transform. All this is going to do is, with UI Manager, we are going to drag canvas into the slot we just made. And hopefully that should fix our errors. And let's try and win. Voila, ladies and gentlemen, we have done it. We have just created a pop-up. Now, after this, we are going to create a bit of animation to make it look a bit cooler and also move out of the way. And it does not seem to be destroying itself after 5 seconds, which we should probably also take care of. I think the reason it does not destroy itself is because there's an error in our code. If we double click on this error, it brings us here, and it says that, oh, I think I know exactly where we went wrong. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I just fixed that error. All I needed to do is to make sure when I double click on pop-up, it takes me to the prefab editor. If I go into scene view, that is all we see. Just make sure with pop-up selected to drag TextMesh Pro into that field. With that done, everything should be fine. And let's demonstrate it. And you have won. And now after 5 seconds, it should destroy itself, and it did. So all I'm going to do now is I'm going to add a little bit of animation. So with pop-up selected, all I'm going to do is under here, I already have my animation tab open. If you do not, window, animation, and we want the animation tab, not the animator tab. The animator is for something else. Yes, the animator is for something else. So in our scene view with pop-up selected, I'm just going to create a new animation clip. And over here, I'm going to say new folder, animations. I'm going to go in there, and I'm just going to rename this to pop-up animation. And I'm going to save that. So what I want to happen is after 5 seconds, I want this to move off the screen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit record, and I'm just going to move it up a little bit, just round about there. And then I'm going to put my slider on 5 seconds. I think that is 5 seconds, and move it right about there. So if I play this, that moves way too fast. I do not think that is 5 seconds. I think that is 5 milliseconds. So I'm going to zoom out. I'm going to drag these two keyframes all the way to 1 second. I'm going to play this. Yes, that seems more like it, but I want it to go in 5 seconds or 4 seconds. Let's make it 3.5 seconds. Let's see how that looks. Okay, I'm gonna make this 2 seconds just to make it a little bit more snappy. Just play that. Yes, this is going to play on awake. So if I go to project in our animations and our pop-up animation, on our pop-up here, we should have a animator. And if we go into there, if we click on pop-up, animation, entry, we go into the pop-up animation. That should work just fine. So if I go out of that mode and I play, so theoretically what will happen now is as soon as we spawn a pop-up, it should move off the screen. And that is exactly what happens. And after 5 seconds, it removes itself. So all that I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn off looping with the animation selected within our project window. Play this again just to make sure. You have one, it does not come back on screen, and it disappears after 5 seconds. Ladies and gentlemen, that'll be all for this video. In the next few tutorial videos, we will be tackling the AI algorithms, the nitty-gritty of this project, where we tell an AI to try and solve this puzzle. Now, yet again, if you come this far expecting neural networks, this project will not include neural networks. This is a search algorithm based AI. We will be going into 2 or 3 different types of search algorithms, and that'll be explained in the next set of videos. Up until then, I hope you enjoy your life, and I will see you then.